Welcome to part 3 of the Participant and Host's Guide to Anton Raid. In this part, we will go over Phase 2 of Anton Raid. We will start with the goal of Phase 2, popular strategies to use, and finally, everything you need to know about the dungeons and mechanics seen in this phase. If you want to skip to a specific part of the video, here is a topic list. Click where you want to go. Timestamps are also available in the description if you are watching on a mobile device. After your 10 minutes of break time, the raid leader should talk to Jactor the Eagle Eye to begin Phase 2. Phase 2, to many, is a lot easier than Phase 1, but it has a few things that can be confusing to some people in terms of structure. But the goal of it, ultimately, is quite simple. The goal is to enter Black Volcano, defeat the last boss, Omnipotent Mataka, and get your clears. Once he is defeated, the phase will end right then and there. Make sure every other team has their 2 clears before killing Mataka. Typically, one team, the strongest team you have, or the team that volunteers, is the team that will go to Black Volcano to fight Mataka. However, at the start of the phase, you can't do that. There is a barrier shield around the entrance, and if you look at the raid status board, you can see it for yourself. It starts at 100%. Each team will first enter Cutting Off the Energy dungeon. Once this dungeon gets cleared, the barrier will lower. Once it is lowered to 0%, there will be a scene that shows on the corner of the screen. Once that scene plays, it means that Black Volcano can now be entered. Send your designated team there immediately. While this is happening, you will see that the barrier meter is starting to recover. If that barrier reaches 100% again, the phase will reset, and the people fighting Mataka will die and be pushed out. The barrier goes up by 1% every 5 seconds. If there are hatchery dungeons active and uncleared, it will go up by 1% every 3 seconds instead. You don't want that barrier to reach 100% again, so while the Black Volcano team fights, the other teams need to lower the barrier down constantly. There are a few ways to lower the barrier. Each time you clear Cutting Off the Energy by killing Eugene, you lower the barrier by 30%. Each generator you see in the dungeon that you break lowers the barrier by 1%. Each hatchery cleared lowers the percentage by 10% as well. While one team runs Black Volcano, the other teams will still be running Cutting Off the Energy. After 3 minutes into the phase, new dungeons will spawn inside Cutting Off the Energy, called Hatcheries. These dungeons, once spawned, will show a little cutscene on your screen, as well as appear on your raid status board. There are 4 hatchery types in total, and they each have a different boss in them. However, there will only be 3 of them in each raid, and the hatcheries that spawn in your raid are always random. In a raid, you could get hatcheries 1, 2, and 4, and the next time could be 2, 3, and 4. It's always different. There will also be one of them that is randomly selected to be the infected hatchery, signified by it pulsating purple on the raid status board. Once a team clears a hatchery, it will enter a respawn state, much like Battlegrounds and Black Smoke from Phase 1. Normal hatcheries respawn in 180 seconds, while the infected hatchery respawns in 240 seconds. The layout for where the hatchery entrances are can be seen here. The locations never change. If a hatchery is ignored for too long, the boss of that hatchery will start to pop up and do attacks to the team running Black Volcano. The raid leader should designate what teams do which hatcheries, what team does the infected hatchery, and what team should be doing what's called Energy Rush. Basically saying that one team should just keep clearing Cutting Off the Energy the normal way, by killing Eugene. It is immensely helpful if teams call out the hatchery they plan to do, so that nobody else accidentally takes the same hatchery. Once a hatchery is cleared, any other party in there will get kicked out, so please make sure your teams don't overlap hatcheries. Raid leaders should remind players to do this. Clearing a hatchery counts as a clear towards your total, so once all teams other than the Black Volcano team have 2 out of 2 clears, tell the team in raid chat. Once the Black Volcano team has the green light, they can kill Matika. Once he is dead, the phase will advance, and you will now be able to enter Anton's heart. This is the easiest part of the raid. Just enter and kill the heart. Once it is cleared enough times, the phase will end, and you will get your Phase 2 card flips. Strategies for this phase aren't too complex, no matter what. Teams are always buying time for the Black Volcano team. But what raid leaders often should do is assign, as said before, the strongest team to do Black Volcano. 3 other teams will take care of hatcheries, one of them getting the infected one. Then, any spare teams will simply keep doing cutting off the energy. You can get pretty flexible with this phase. If you have a team that can keep clearing energy fast enough, you do not need to worry about hatcheries. It just means more sweat for those people. Actually fighting Matika takes a long time, depending on the team, so the Black Volcano team should keep trying to do Matika's mechanics like normal. But once Matika's second phase starts, that is to say, when all the bosses were summoned and killed, that is when the Black Volcano team should halt, and wait for the rest of the teams to get 2 out of 2 clears. Once all the other teams have 2 out of 2 clears, tell the raid chat, and the Black Volcano team will carry on finishing off Matika. Now, to talk about what to know about these dungeons. Cutting off the energy comes off as an intimidating maze with how big the map is, but don't worry, your job is simple. There will be 3 red icons on the map. Those are the generators. You need to destroy 3 of them, and then you may enter the boss room. These generators are always in different places each time you run the dungeon. Your team needs to find the shortest and quickest route to each generator and then to the boss. The rooms in this place have the same ads you're already familiar with. The boss of this area is Eugene. He has a few things you need to really pay attention to, but he can also be killed really fast if your team has the damage to do it. Before entering the boss room, one of your teammates should take the role of bait. The first player to approach Eugene, he will try to grab. If the grab misses, he will be confused for a short time and can be damaged. He can actually die like this, so this fight has the potential to be over in less than 20 seconds. If you do not have the damage to kill him, then after this bait, you will need to fight him normally. Eugene naturally has extremely high defense, so don't bother using any high damaging or high committing skills. Use your safest skills to poke at him instead. After a certain amount of hits, around 100, he will do his charge attack. This is important. If he dashes across the screen without grabbing anyone in his path, he will hit the wall and get stunned, letting you attack him for high damage once again. The only tell for his charge attack is when you see a transparent silhouette of him running across the screen, followed by a screen shake. After a second of that silhouette running by, he himself would then charge in the direction that the silhouette did. You need to be out of his way. If he runs into you, you will get grabbed, take immense damage, and waste your team's time. If you get grabbed, or didn't kill him before his stun ran out, you will need to hit him enough times for the attack to happen again. When he runs across the screen, he will leave a shockwave above and below him. Players need to be ready to jump over this shockwave, and also be ready to run up to him and damage him afterwards. After losing a large amount of HP, he will start using his second big attack, the glowing eye. You'll see a message in green about Eugene opening his eye, as well as the screen lighting up white. Once this is happening, look away from Eugene. You need to turn away from him until you see him start to move again, or until you see the eye animation go away. If you don't look away from him, or turn around too early, he will recover a large amount of HP and spawn a floating eye. This eye will follow a player and poison them, as well as cancel any attack that comes in contact with the eye. The 4 hatcheries are also dungeons you should know about. They're short, and they can be entered from inside, cutting off the energy. Entering a hatchery is quite simple. If you look at the minimap, you will see a yellow icon. If you go to that map, you will find a champion monster that, once killed, will open up all the hatchery maps. Simply travel to the map where your desired hatchery lies. Party leaders tend to return to town and re-enter energy until the yellow icon and the hatchery entrance are reasonably close enough together to save time. The first hatchery, on the top right, is where you fight the giant Noogle worm. The worm will start out with a green circle around it. The first player who touches this circle will see a target reticle around them. This means that you have aggro on the worm, and the worm will be chasing you. The worm travels fast through the floor, so you need to be ready to keep jumping to avoid the attack. Otherwise, you will get hit and die. After about 3 or 4 charges, the worm will do some random attack, and then put the green circle back up eventually. The other players will need to run to the far left and kill the turtle monster that is there. Once the turtle is green, that is how you know it is dead. The player who takes aggro on the worm will need to lure the worm's charge into the green shell of the turtle. It will then get stunned, and you can attack him. The second hatchery has the boss called Stinky Poo. He will start off by spitting out a stinky green gas ball. The player who touches it will get a reticle on them, and will then have aggro on the boss. Stinky Poo will then try to jump on and charge at the targeted player. It is this player's job to lure the boss onto the 4 shields in the corners of the room. Once he stomps on the shield, it will break, and the rocks underneath it can be broken. Once all 4 rocks are broken, the rock in the center can be broken. Upon that, Stinky Poo will be stunned and you may damage him. If you don't kill him in this one chance, he will reset the mechanic, this time with a new eye helper. The eye will target a random player and follow them. If this player comes in contact with the eye's spotlight, Stinky Poo will jump to the center of the room and do several room-wide shockwaves, killing unprepared players instantly. If you want practice with this encounter, the Anton normal version is roughly similar to this one. The third hatchery is one that differs from the Anton normal version drastically. This boss, Ator, needs to be fought in a very specific way. Player 1 of the party needs to enter the circle and fight Ator by his or herself. Upon starting the fight, the boss and player 1 will be warped to a fixed location, while the other party members will be sent to other places in the room, trapped in crystals. During the fight, if the player exits the circle, Ator will kill everyone in the room. It is player 1's job to stay in the circle and damage the boss to death. Additionally, the boss will keep moving towards the player. Ator will eventually slam his hammer down and create a fire pillar that deals damage. Once the hammer slam happens, you will enter a knockdown state. Hold jump to use quick rebound and avoid the fire attack altogether. Player 1 can lure the boss to the trapped party members to set them free if you need the extra damage. Once Ator is dead, the trapped players will be set free. The fourth and last hatchery has the boss Blood Flu. This one is pretty simple. He will always start on the left side of the room, and will send out clones of himself in the same order each time. The order will always be middle, then bottom, then top. One of these clones will be solid, and the other 2 will be transparent. The transparent ones will hurt you. The solid one will put a flame on the player who touches it. That player should then touch Blood Flu, and he will be stunned. Players will then be able to deal damage to Blood Flu. Black Volcano is the last and hardest dungeon in Phase 2. The dungeon starts with monsters attacking you, so be ready for that. The first mini-boss can be held and killed quickly, so do just that. The next room has another boss that should be held quickly. If a player can run up to the boss fast enough, or has a full screen grab, they should use it here. Otherwise, the boss will jump into the sky and start raining down AoEs, as well as spawning ads. The next room is monsters. The room after that is Medell, a pretty tricky mini-boss. She can only be damaged when she is on a red square. In order to make a square red, 2 or more players need to be standing on it. If only 1 player is on a square, it turns blue. Everyone should run in and position near her. Hold her and DPS her down until she is defeated, before she activates any of her mechanics. If she does manage to start her mechanics, you can have a Saint, Seraph, or Savior heal you through its duration. The next room is monsters. The last room is Matka. This fight can be done in one of 2 methods. One method is easiest, but requires absolute top-tier gear. This method is called Counterkill, or CK for short. One player will attack Matka when his shield is down until he dies, bypassing needing to do any of his orb mechanics. The second way is the harder way. First thing to note is Mataka's shield. If you attack it, you reflect damage to your entire party. His shield only goes down when he punches you, so you need to hit him before he hits you. Quick moves, moves with super armor, or grabs are very effective in achieving this. Once you hit him, you will spawn an orb. This orb will follow you around and cycle through 4 symbols. These symbols also have a color to them. If you look in the back of the map, you will see that each orb mimics the icons on all the hatchery bosses. You want to bring the orb to the 3 circles in the room. Once the orb touches the circle will light up on the symbol on which the orb was cycled on. Match all 3 circles to summon the boss that corresponds with that orb symbol. Make sure your team summons Ator, the guy with the hammer, last. Once a boss gets summoned, you will need to kill it. Once killed, Matka will get stunned and can be damaged. After a certain amount of damage, he will return back to teleporting and punching, as well as putting his shield back up. You will need to repeat this until all the bosses have been summoned and defeated. The Nugal worm fight is simple. Just avoid his attacks and kill him. Stinky Poo is also easy. He stays in the center, and you need to kill him. Be careful not to stand in the center of the room near Stinky Poo, because when he spawns, he will have his eye assistant in the center. Do not let the eye touch you, or Stinky Poo will attack the room. A target reticle will appear on a random player. Let that player lure the eye away from everyone. The Blood Flu fight is also easy. He will attack one player and put a dark flame on them. Pass the dark flame between 3 other players, then touch Flu. He will get stunned and you can hurt him. To make this easier, just keep running around the boss to maximize time. The last boss you should fight is Ator, and the reason for this is because his orb symbol is always the first one in the cycle. If you counter Matka while standing in the circle, you will automatically get the symbol for Ator to appear, making the fight go by faster. The fight with Ator is easy. Stay in the circle and use quick rebound when he slams his hammer. If you exit the circle, everyone will die. Once all 4 bosses are killed, Matka will enter his Phase 2. He will have a long animation where he is fully invincible. Do not waste skills here. After this, you may ignore all his mechanics and simply hold and kill him. That is the end of our hosts and participants guide to Anton Raid. I am your narrator, Zyke, and this video was made by Cronnicossy for Neopal's Share Your Expertise event. I hope you learned something and go on to do your own raids. Stay tuned to this channel for further videos about Dungeon Fighter Online. Have a good day, and remember, you've got to spend money to make money.